The following reaction that you're about to see is, well, it may be a little bit disturbing for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. So let's talk about this game. First of all, Premier League's back. That's exciting news in and of itself. It's been a pretty boring summer without it. You know, Copa America was kind of bleh, and then Euros. I mean, it was so boring that the team that won it all only won one of their games in 90 minutes. The rest of them tied. So, yeah, really looking forward to Premier League returning. And I gotta admit, going into this game Monday night was really exciting because you look at the rest of the games over the weekend and nobody really played that well. You know, like, there were some teams that looked okay at times, but the two best games of the weekend were Arsenal-Liverpool, which, if anything, tells you more about how bad Arsenal's going to be this year. Because, if I'm being honest, I don't think Liverpool looks all that good this year. You know, just based on the players they sold. And Coutinho will probably save them for a few games, but overall, they aren't that good. So the fact that Arsenal managed to not only give up the lead, but lose 4-3, just sort of tells you how bad Arsenal's going to be this year. And then, of course, the other game that everybody's raving about is Man U-Bournemouth, which, in my opinion, Bournemouth doesn't look that good this year compared to last year. They look a little bit more scared, a little bit less physical, and sort of just let Man U have a lot of time and space. So I don't think that was really an indication of Man U's strength, more an indication of Bournemouth's weakness right now. So going into this game, I felt like this is a chance for Chelsea to kind of take this league by the scruff of the neck and say, hey, we're here to win this league this year. Unfortunately, we didn't really do that, but there's still a lot of positive things coming out of this game, and the fact that we ended up with a win is pretty great. You know, West Ham's not exactly one of the better teams, but they're not one of the worst teams in the league. They are right up there, constantly fighting for a Europa League spot year after year. So to beat them is no small feat, but also just looking at some of the problems that we have right now, it felt like they could really exploit that, and they never did. We only won 2-1, but they only scored one goal, and it was off of, I think they only had 7 shots, and 3 of them were on target. One of our biggest problems is our defense right now, and they really didn't get that many chances, which sort of tells you it was a team effort, but we didn't really show a lot of weakness. I think the goal, I'll talk about it a little bit, but I think it was a bit unfortunate. And then overall the game it felt a bit like Chelsea just they had it all. They had all the possession, all the time in the world, just not that clinical finishing pass. So anyway, long story short, I was excited going into this game. I leave feeling a little bit less excited, but still in a good mood for the rest of the season. So let's talk about it. First of all, let's start with the lineup. I was a little concerned at first because, you know, first lineup of the new year for Conte. Let's see what he's got. Back four, I kind of expected. You know, part of me wanted Aina to start over Ivanovic, but at the same time, I realized that's probably not the best right now because Ivanovic has experience, even if he didn't have a good year last year. Terry and Cahill, of course, I mean, those are pretty much our only options right now for center back, and then Dave, of course, on the left side. And then up into the midfield, we got N'Golo Kante sitting in behind the 4 midfielders, Hazard, Matic, Oscar, and Willian, and then Costa up top. Not a bad lineup by any means, but at the same time, I was kind of concerned because Fabregas wasn't a part of it. And I personally thought Fabregas had a great preseason. I wanted to see him involved. And also, I think Hazard is better in the middle, and this has been talked about before. I really want to see him being tried out as possibly a secondary striker instead of a winger. But, not he'll still do stuff on the wing, and he did tonight. But I just want to see that. I want to see if he can maybe get some goals if they put him up top alongside somebody like Costa. But anyway, back to Fabregas. I came to read later, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I read somewhere that he possibly was like going behind Chelsea's back and talking to Real Madrid or something like that. So I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know if he did something to upset Conte. I really don't know, but he wasn't involved tonight. He was on the bench, I believe, but that was it. So if we're talking about performances, though, going through the defense, actually first start with Courtois. I thought he did well tonight. He had to use his feet a few times, only had to make a couple saves. The goal, not a whole lot he can do about that. It's back across him, so he's set here, and now he's got to get across the goal quickly through bodies as well. It's difficult. I'm not going to say that he should have made the save because there's not a whole lot he could have done. Defense, Ivanovic, I thought played well. I don't think he had a whole lot defensively to do, so if that happens in the next few games, if he has to defend, I'm a little bit concerned to see if he is back to the Ivanovic I remember of getting up and down, or if he's going to get caught out a lot like he did last year. Cahill, I think we need a new center back to replace him. He did well at times. He held up Andy Carroll well at times, but the goal, I completely blame on him because ball drops to Collins, and he pretty much sort of stands there instead of throwing himself in front of the shot and lets Collins have a free volley at the top of the box. That's not good enough. I mean, you can say, well, yeah, Willian was right there. Yeah, but Willian's not a defender. He's not somebody who's going to throw himself in front of the shot all the time. Cahill is goal side of him. All he has to do is just step across and at least throw him off so he's not hitting a clean volley. But he just sort of stood there right next to him and said, go ahead. Oh, nice shot. It was just so lazy, and he's done that more than a few times. There was, I think one of the goals against, I think it was Werder Bremen, maybe. But one of the goals in the preseason, there was a moment where you see him just sort of jogging across, and I remember thinking, if that's Terry, he's going in full body, throwing himself in front of the shot. But because it's Cahill, it's just like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and then shot comes in, and that's it. It's a goal. So I'm really disappointed with him. I really think we need to get somebody to replace him. But that's just me. Terry, I thought played well. Looked a little bit slow at times, but that's to be expected because of his age. But still, despite his age and his lack of speed, he still manages to do a good job back there, and that's what I love about having him back there. On top of that, he brings a leadership to the team, which is much needed at times. Azpilicueta, I thought played very, very well. I thought he was our best defender of the game for sure. He just does so well on both sides of the ball. If he's defending, he's strong and he's holding people off. If he's attacking, he's quick and he's moving the ball quickly. I love to see him play. And it reminds me of the Azpilicueta from the championship winning season. Even at the beginning of last season, he still looked good. It's just once Mourinho left, it felt like he had gotten into this desperation state and started like going into wild challenges, really diving in, trying to win the ball, and he didn't have to. All he had to do was stand him up, and it feels like he's gotten that back. So that was very good to see. N'Golo Kante, first start for Chelsea, pretty much exactly what everybody's been expecting from him. I mean, so many times he put in a challenge when it was much needed. There are times when he's just in the right place at the right time to win the ball and start the attack back at West Ham. They had so few chances, and a lot of that had to do with N'Golo sitting in the middle of the field. I mean, he's just right there. He's ready to win the ball, and it's great to see, and really gets me excited for the rest of the season to see him play more. Hazard on the left wing, in my opinion, I thought he deserved man of the match. They gave it to Conte, which I understand. But he looks so much better. I think he's still got a little bit to go as far as his finishing, which was his problem 2 years ago as well. But he looks like he's back to what we expect to see: the quick turns, the burst of pace, and the nice little passes. I mean, just setting it up on a platter sometimes. And I feel like once he and Costa and Willian and Oscar, whoever's in there, I feel like as they continue to play together and really get the rhythm back, I feel like some of these passes that he's doing that they're not reading right now, eventually it'll start coming along and it'll start happening, and then boom, 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 goal. It's just going to start happening just like that. So that's very exciting to see. Matic and Oscar, I thought, did well together. Matic a little bit more of a I'm going to win the ball in the air in the midfield, and Oscar more of a kind of a creative player. I still think Fabregas is better in that role than he is, but for what it's worth, he did well. I thought he worked very hard defensively. I've said this before, that he is, of the attacking midfielders that we have, he's our best defensive player of them. I mean, he works hard to win the ball back. He goes flying into challenges sometimes, a little too crazy. But, I mean, he really works hard to win the ball back. And that's one of the things that he brings. He doesn't bring a ton to the plate, but that is one of the things. And I can understand why you would want him in there. Even if he doesn't always create everything, he still does well. Matic, at times disappointing, but at times I thought he looked pretty good. Moving the ball well, holding up the ball well. I still want to see more out of him because of what we saw 2 years ago. I think he can do better. So I'm still holding the standard pretty high for him. But if this is the standard, he was about like right here tonight, and we'll say this is Mikel's average. So I mean that's just in comparison. And then Willian on the far side, I thought looked very lively. A lot of speed. Really worked hard to make sure whenever the defenders had the ball on his side, he was constantly threatening him. He was constantly just right in their face, not letting them have a moments of peace. I loved it. It was great to see, and hopefully he can get the set pieces back because he's still a little bit off with those. I mean, his free kick that Adrian touched over the bar was good, but it's still not the Willian free kick that I'm expecting. So, other than that, I mean, he had a good game. And then finally Costa up top. Looked good. Looked very hungry for a goal, very desperate to win the ball back and fight hard. At times a little too overzealous, a little bit worrisome at times, especially after he got the yellow for the new stupid rule. I'll talk about that in a second, but he gets the yellow for that, and then Adrian's playing around with the ball. He goes diving in to try to win it and gets him on the leg, and it's like, okay, that's a little scary. Let's just calm it down just a little bit, but ultimately, I thought he had a good game overall, and got a goal at the end to sort of solidify that fact. So, overall, looking at the team, I thought the team played very well. Subs that came on second half, I thought did okay. I didn't necessarily want to see Pedro at all. I know that sounds very harsh, but I think that, one, I think Moses is a better option than Pedro. Not that Pedro's not a good player. I just don't think he fits in well in the Premier League. I think he's more of a La Liga player. I think probably should have stayed at Barcelona or gone to Atletico or something like that, because I don't think he has the strength to really do much here. And you can see at times whenever he's fighting really hard and you're just like, I love the effort, but ultimately he just doesn't have the strength to really get stuff done. Moses and Michi came on at the same time. I honestly thought it was a little bit too late. I wanted to see this change. I wanted to see Moses come on, and I wanted to see Conte go with two strikers up top, and he did. But I was thinking, this is too late. We've got 5 minutes left in the game. What are they going to do? And then Michi makes the header. Costa's there, scores the goal, and I'm like, okay, so he does know what he's doing. I was so upset with Conte up until that point. I'm just like, you're an idiot. You waited too long. And then it all works out, and I'm just like, now I feel like the idiot. So, overall, I mean, you look at the stats. Chelsea had more shots. They had more shots on target. They had more possession. They looked the better team. And honestly, it probably should have been more than 2-1. But you really think about the fact that it's the first game of the season. I understand that they're not necessarily putting away every shot. They're not pushing forward to get a ton of goals right now. I get it. So while I am excited to see where it's going, I'm also a bit hesitant to say anything about we're going to win the league this year. As a fan, I'm going to say it, of course, but as a critique of the team, I still think there are some things that we need to fix here and there. Obviously defense is one of the big things, but there's still little things here and there, little tweaks I want to see changed for the next game, and yeah, it was a good game. That's all I could say. So on to little things involved in this game. One, like I said, Costa gets a card because of this new rule for the referees. You have to just not, pretty much don't talk to the referee type thing. I understand it. I get it. There are a lot of players that abuse referees verbally. I don't agree with that. However, I feel like this is just, it's too much. It's almost like you can't say anything to the referee. Now, if a guy gets in your face and is yelling at you, yeah, card him for that. I get that. But if there's a player who has something to say, you can card him now. Even if he's not saying anything bad, if he just comes up and says, "Hey, what about that call of it? You yellow card, get out of my face." Not even being disrespectful, just coming up and saying something can now get you a yellow. And I think it's the fact that referees are just too sensitive. You can see it at times in games. There are times whenever a player gets upset with them. Last season, before this new rule, a player gets upset, they yell at him or say something, and then the very next challenge that player goes into, it doesn't matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter if they got the ball or not, it's an automatic yellow because that player pissed him off and they're going to card him for that. So I just feel like referees are too sensitive. I feel like you should be able to take a little bit. You're making some bad calls. The referee tonight was very, very poor. I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a second. But he's making bad calls. Yeah, you're going to anger some players, and you're saying that these referees can now just say, "Hey, you're in my face, I don't like that, here's a yellow." It just seems like you're giving the referees too much power now. Now it's just like you can't say anything to them. They're always right, 100%. If you even say that they're wrong, oh, well, no, you're getting a card for that. You're being punished for that. They are getting some calls wrong. It's going to happen. That's one of the things about soccer. There are going to be mistakes that are going to happen, and you're saying that you can't say that they're mistakes? You're saying you can't point out that that was a mistake? If this guy kicked me and the referee didn't see it, and I try to say something to him, if the referee thinks that I got up into his face, I'm going to get a card now. Like, that's just, it's so stupid to me. At the same time, it's so confusing because I want to say, yeah, protect the referees, but I also want to say, referees, man up a little bit and learn to take some of this verbal abuse because some of it is your own doing. So anyway, that's that. The referee tonight was bad. I don't think Oscar should have gotten a penalty. I think he did go down a little too easy, but at the same time, if he doesn't go down and Winston Reid gets in his way and he doesn't go down off of that contact, then he's not getting the penalty either way. So it's almost like Winston Reid just has a free rein to get in his way, and that's it. No obstruction, no call for that. That's kind of frustrating. Good no call on Costa. They talked about it in the studio. It's a simple challenge. He's going in to win it. Yeah, his foot's a bit high, but I mean, it's kind of a natural thing to put your foot out like that. Obviously, you can't see it because it's off screen, but it's a natural reaction to put your foot out like that to try to win the ball. And it just happened that Adrian Blake got in front of that foot. So I was a little bit worried because Costa does have a reputation, so I thought that may come into play, but the referee didn't call that. But then he goes and makes several stupid calls after that just make me say, you're an idiot. First he calls some non-foul that leads to Payet's free kick, which leads to Spilicueta going into a challenge with Carroll. Carroll goes down holding his face. He gives a foul for that, which was absolutely nothing. And then from that, free kick off the wall for a corner, comes in, goal. So it's the little things like that, and there were several little fouls that were not fouls at all in the middle of the park. I'm just like, if you're going to call that, then we should have like 3 penalties right now. Like it was just there. The one on Costa near the end, clear penalty, blocks him off, no call. Conte gets a yellow for his first challenge of the game, and then a few seconds later, somebody puts in a similar challenge. Oh no, it was a few seconds before that. Collins puts in a similar challenge on Costa, stops his run, and no card. It just blows my mind. I'm looking for consistency. I'm not getting consistency. That frustrates me. So, obviously, I'm not making excuses for anything, but the referees tonight were very poor. Part of the review. Final thing to talk about is just the overall feeling of the team. Because there are moments where it feels like they do well, and then next few minutes it feels like maybe things have dropped off a little bit. Didn't happen a whole lot this game. It happened a lot last year, obviously, but for the majority of this game, they were on top, and then there were a few moments leading up to the goal where it just felt like maybe players would get tired, and Conte should have made a change before that, or maybe they just sort of took their foot off the gas a little bit. I don't know, but it's little moments like that that led up to the goal that make me think we need to change that. We can't have those little moments that lead to a goal. We need to make sure throughout the entire 90 minutes you're focused. You're not giving away, even if it's not really foul, even the ref made a bad call. Don't put yourself in a position to let the referee make a bad call. We have to be more prepared and better focused to keep us out of those situations. Because, it worked out tonight, but it's not always going to work out like that. We're not always going to have a moment of magic where Costa just finds that back corner through defender's leg. That's not always going to happen. So, overall, I'm pleased with the result. I'm pleased with the performance. But there are just few things here and there, few tweaks I'd like to see change. I'd love to see him go with 2 strikers next game instead of just the one to start off, because I feel like that's the formation that's going to work. It's obviously it leaves you a bit exposed at times, but I think with Conte in there in the midfield, I think we've got a player who's going to shut down a lot. And yeah, that may end up taking Matic or Oscar or Fabregas out of the situation. But you know what? I'd rather win games with a couple of players having to sit at times than narrowly win or tie because we're trying to play a bit more defensively and trying to give everybody time to play. I'm just sort of rambling now. But looking ahead, I can't remember who we play next weekend, but looking ahead, I'd love to see him go a bit more attacking next time. If we're on the road, he'll probably be more defensive, but I'd love to see him tweak the formula a little bit, move Hazard in the middle as a secondary striker instead of a wing. And, yeah, we'll see what happens, but good result, good way to start the season, and exciting. Very, very exciting to watch. So those are my thoughts on this game. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If there are things that you agree or disagree, let me know. We can talk about it. What formation and players would you like to see in the next game? And leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you at the next game. Peace out.